I was 28, a freelance graphic designer living alone in a quiet suburb outside Chicago. I'd been single for a few months after a rough breakup, and my days blurred together, working from my living room couch, ordering takeout, avoiding social plans. The apartment was nothing special, a second-floor unit in a low-rise complex with thin walls and a balcony overlooking the parking lot. I kept odd hours, often up late, tweaking designs, but I always tried to wind down by midnight. That night was unremarkable. I'd wrapped up a client project around 11 p.m., heated up some leftovers, and settled in bed with a book. The street outside was silent, just the occasional car passing on the main road. My phone was on the nightstand, charging, set to do not disturb except for favorites. No one important called late anyway. I flipped through pages, feeling the usual tiredness settle in. Lights dimmed low. Around 12:30, my phone vibrated once, the screen lighting up. I glanced over. An unknown number, no caller ID, probably spam. Telemarketers didn't respect hours. It rang out to voicemail and I ignored it, turning back to my book. A minute later, the voicemail notification pinged, but I didn't check it right away. Could wait till morning. The call started again about 10 minutes later. Same number, vibrating insistently. This time, it rang twice before stopping, then a third call immediately after. Odd, but maybe a wrong number, someone persistent. I silenced the phone fully and set it face down. The apartment felt a bit stuffier than usual. I got up to crack the balcony door for air, peering out at the empty lot below. Cars parked neatly, streetlights casting long shadows. Back in bed, I tried to read, but my focus drifted. Then the texts came through, bypassing the silence. The first, answer. Just that, from the same unknown. A chill ran through me, but I rationalized it. Could be a prank, or an ex being petty. The next one, I see your lights still on. My heart skipped, but I told myself it was coincidence. Lots of windows glowed at night. I blocked the number, hands steady, and double-checked the locks on the front door. The balcony door was still ajar. I closed it quietly, drawing the curtains. That's when I heard the faint ringtone, not from my phone, but outside, muffled through the glass. It matched mine, echoing softly from the parking lot below. I froze by the window, peering through a slit in the curtains. A figure stood by the dumpsters, phone to their ear, staring up at my balcony. Tall, hooded, face obscured in shadow. My phone lit up again. New number, but the text. Don't hide, I know you're watching. Panic set in, slow like ice in my veins. I backed away, grabbing a kitchen knife from the drawer, crouching by the bed. The calls kept coming, each from a different number, voicemails piling up. I played one, volume low, a man's voice. Calm. You left the door open earlier. Sloppy. He knew my routine. I dialed 911, whispering details, but the operator said units were en route, 10 minutes out. Outside, footsteps crunched on gravel, approaching the building stairs. The doorknob rattled softly, testing. I hid in the closet, knife gripped tight, breath shallow, waiting for the break-in. My phone buzzed once more. Closer now. The footsteps stopped right outside my door. I imagined him picking the lock, stepping in silently, finding me. Then nothing. Sirens approached in the distance. The footsteps retreated, fading down the stairs. Police arrived, searched the lot, empty, no trace. They said it could be a stalker using burner apps, but no leads. I installed new locks, got a security cam, but sleep never came easy after. Nights like that, a late call still makes me check the windows. Strangers are everywhere. Some just wait for the right moment. I was 32 at the time, working as a night shift nurse in a downtown hospital. I'd just moved into this old apartment building on the edge of the city, the kind with creaky floors and thin walls, but it was affordable and close to work. My routine was simple. Sleep during the day, head out around 7 p.m., come back exhausted after midnight. No family nearby, just me and my cat waiting upstairs on the 14th floor. That evening started like any other. I'd finished my shift early for once, around 11 p.m., and stopped at the corner store for milk and some frozen dinners. The lobby was empty when I got back, typical for a weekday. I hit the elevator button, stepped in with my bags and pressed 14. The doors closed smoothly and it started up with that familiar hum. I leaned against the wall, scrolling through texts on my phone, thinking about nothing but a hot shower. About halfway up, there was a slight jolt, like the car had hit a bump in the tracks. The building was from the 70s, so elevators glitched sometimes. I glanced at the panel. The numbers were still climbing, 9, 10. Then it slowed and stopped. Not at a floor, though. The display froze on 11, but the doors stayed shut. I pressed the open button a couple times. Nothing. Hit 14 again. Still nothing. Annoying, but I'd been stuck before for a minute or two. Then the lights flickered once, dimming just a shade before steadying. I figured maintenance was slacking again. I reached for the alarm button and held it down. The buzzer rang out, echoing in the shaft. No response over the intercom. I pulled out my phone to call the front desk, but signal was spotty in there, one bar flickering in and out. While I waited, I heard a faint scrape from above, like metal on metal. Probably cables settling, I told myself. The scrape came again, closer this time, right over the ceiling panel. Then a thud, soft but deliberate, as if something heavy shifted up there. I froze, staring at the hatch in the roof. It wasn't the building groaning. This sounded like footsteps, careful and slow, pacing back and forth. My mind raced to the super's warnings about homeless folks sneaking into the shaft sometimes, but that was just talk. I pressed the alarm harder, the buzzer blaring non-stop now. That's when I heard breathing, ragged, like someone out of breath, filtering through the vent. Not mechanical, not wind. Human. "Hey!" a voice muttered, low and muffled, like they were talking to themselves. "Almost. Got it." My stomach dropped. I backed into the corner, eyes locked on the hatch. It rattled slightly as if fingers were testing the edges. The elevator wasn't just broken, someone was up there, tampering with it, trapping me. I banged on the doors with my fist, yelling for help, but the shaft swallowed the sound. My phone finally got a signal. I dialed 911, whispering my address, begging them to hurry. The hatch creaked open an inch. I saw a shadow shift, a hand maybe, pale knuckles gripping the frame. My heart pounded so hard I could barely breathe. If they dropped in, there was nowhere to run. I grabbed a key from my pocket, holding it like a pathetic weapon, imagining the worst, robbery, assault, or something senseless. Then, without warning, the elevator lurched downward. The hatch snapped shut as the car started moving, lights brightening. It descended to the lobby, doors sliding open like nothing happened. I stumbled out, bags forgotten, and ran to the street. Police showed up 20 minutes later, checked the shaft, empty, no signs of anyone. The super said it was probably a power surge, but I know what I heard. I moved out a week later. Elevators still make me pause, wondering if someone's listening from the dark spaces above. You never know who's sharing the building with you. I was 45, a retired teacher living in a small townhouse community in upstate New York. My wife had passed a few years earlier, and I spent most days tending the garden or reading in the sunroom. The neighborhood was quiet, mostly older folks like me, with everyone knowing each other's habits. No kids running around, just the occasional dog walker. I liked the routine. It kept things predictable. That afternoon was typical for early fall. I'd gone to the library in the morning, picked up a couple of history books and stopped at the grocery for bread and coffee. Back home by 2 p.m., I unpacked, made a sandwich, and sat at the kitchen table flipping through the mail. Bills, flyers, nothing out of the ordinary. The house was still, windows open to let in the breeze, birds chirping outside. As I finished eating, I noticed a scrap of paper on the floor by the front door, half under the mat. Must have blown in when I came back, I thought. It was folded neatly, like a note from a neighbor about trash pickup or something. I picked it up without much thought, unfolded it. Handwritten in block letters. "Nice garden. Water the roses more." Odd, but maybe from Mrs. Ellis next door. She was always commenting on plants. I set it aside and went about my day, watering the garden as usual. Later that evening, another note appeared under the door while I was in the shower. I heard the faint rustle but dismissed it as wind. Drying off, I found it there. Same paper, same writing. "The blue shirt suits you." I'd worn that shirt to the library earlier. A prickle of unease, but I figured it was a joke from someone in the community, maybe kids from down the street sneaking around. I checked the locks, peered out the windows, street empty, and tossed it in the trash. The notes kept coming, slipping under the door at random times. One during dinner. Coffee black, no sugar, good choice. Another while I napped. History books again? Try fiction. Each referenced small details from my day, things no one should notice unless they were watching closely. I started closing the curtains earlier, varying my routine, but they adapted. Notes about skipped lunches or changed routes to the store. I told myself it was harmless, some bored local, but I began checking the door more often. Then came the one that changed everything. "Miss your wife?" "I do too." Folded with a faded photo clipped inside, her from years ago, one I'd lost in a move. Not a copy, the original, edges worn. That's when I knew it wasn't a prank. Someone had been in my things, maybe the house. I searched every room. Nothing missing, but drawers felt rifled, like they'd been rearranged just enough to notice. Fear settled in, steady. I nailed the windows shut, pushed a chair against the door, at night. One evening, as dusk fell, a note slid under. "Barricades won't help." I grabbed the phone to call the police, but hesitated. What proof? While I stood there, the doorknob turned slowly, testing. No knock, just the quiet twist. My breath caught. I backed into the kitchen, clutching a heavy pan from the counter. Footsteps shuffled on the porch, soft, deliberate, circling to the side window. A shadow passed the glass, tall, unhurried, pausing as if listening. I froze by the table, pan raised, waiting for the shatter of glass or the door to give. The house was silent, except my pulse. Minutes stretched. I imagined them forcing entry, face hidden, motives unknown. Police line rang busy the first try. On the second, I whispered for help. The shadow vanished as sirens neared. Cops found footprints in the garden, fresh, leading to the fence, but no one there. Notes stopped after that. No arrests, no explanations. I installed cameras, but nothing showed. Doors still make me check twice. Notes like that, they remind you privacy's fragile, and some people watch longer than you know.